New York style rent control system look like in the state of Florida and specifically Miami, but it doesn't have to be just Miami, maybe in other parts of the country that are seeing significant rent increases in their community. Is this something that's feasible and can this be implemented and will it actually work? That's what we're going to be talking about today and diving into. And before I get into it, if you enjoy this type of content and you like the video and found value, do me a favor, give me a follow and drop a like and also comment down below. Love to hear your opinions. And if you live in New York, even more so. Let me know what your experience is. If you live in a rent control unit or if you don't, I want to know how that is going for you guys over there. So there's been two benefits when living in a rent control unit. Number one is the stability, knowing that your rent is not going to increase 100-200%. So for many that live in these rent control units, they are governed by the state of New York, and the landlord cannot increase their rents beyond the rate that has been established. So it's good to know you have the stability in your rent. And that's why when I was doing some research, there's people who are literally paying in Manhattan for like a tutu, like $1,000, so almost nothing to live in a place where rents are easily hitting $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 for the same type of unit in the same area. The second, the most important one is they need to have justification as to why they would evict you, and it has to fall within the parameters of the rent control law. So they can't just kick you out for any reason. They have to make sure that they have records, facts. It's really the burden of proof has to fall on the landlord to show that you are not meeting your end of the agreement, which pretty much from my research, most people who live in rent control units will do everything and anything to make sure that they do not lose privilege to live within those communities. Now, we're gonna go over the cons, which these are significant cons that we have to take into consideration. And number one, it's the inability to generate ROI in your investment. So if your unit becomes rent controlled and you're a landlord, the issue that you fall into is any major enhancements and improvements you've done to the property, it's almost going to be impossible for you to get it. That's why most rent control units in New York are not really well maintained. Some of these units are dilapidated, very outdated, because there really isn't much ability to raise the rent. So why are you going to improve it in the first place? As long as a person can live in there and it's safe, the landlord really doesn't have much reason to improve it because he's not gonna get that money back. Second, developers are basically disincentivized to develop. So think about it like this. You're a developer, you're building all these developments here, but you can't increase rent. So there's really not much money, going back to the first one, for you to really even make. There's no skin in the game for you. So a lot of developers really don't want to get involved in rent control. They don't touch that, they don't even look at it, and they avoid it like the plague. And then third, it creates market instability. So people that live in rent control units, well, guess what? At the end of the day, those that don't live in it have to make up for the difference. So you'll see considerable rent differences between the rent control people, which is easily 2 times, 3 times, even 10 times the difference of what somebody else would be paying, because at the end of the day, we live in a free market society, and if I'm the owner and these units are rent controlled and I'm not making any money, well, you gotta make money somewhere, and that's pretty much the gist of that. It's very bad. That's why you see a lot of discrepancies when you're going out there to rent. Now, is this something that's feasible that we can implement in Miami? I personally don't see any benefit in that, because once you get too much regulation oversight in there, there really isn't much ability to increase the supply, which is the big issue that we have here in Miami. We don't have a lot of supply. We're very landlocked in this community. So you have the east, can't build anything further out there because you have the ocean. You can't build anything out west because you have the Everglades and the urban development line. And you can't go down south because that's a lot of farmland. And whatever development they are doing there, there's really not much infrastructure and public transportation to really support the residents that are there. Yet, even though Miami-Dade County is working on it, it's still going to take some time to get there. So these are things that we have to be looking at. But in my overall observation and research of this, there really isn't enough opportunity and really much benefit for people to live in rent control. And at the end of the day, not everybody's going to get rent control, only a certain amount of people. So some people, a very small few, will benefit, and then a lot of other individuals are going to suffer. And that's unfortunately how it is. Even, and just for people to understand this if they don't know, Section 8 isn't given to everybody. It's a lottery system. So whoever submits their name, you can have 100,000 people apply, only 5,000 people can get it. So what does that tell you? The 95,000 that applied are really in a tough scenario. What are they going to do? So just keep that in mind, how these laws and systems work. It's not for everybody. A certain few can get it, and if you're lucky to get it, you're never gonna let go of it. Now, if you learn something new, you enjoy this type of content, and you want me to dive into any other specific topics related to real estate, it doesn't have to be just Miami real estate, it could be anything. Let me know in the comments down below. And again, if you found value from this video, do me a favor, subscribe, and what are you waiting for? Have a good one.